Welcome to Never Again Is Now, a podcast about anti-Semitism. I am Evelyn Marcus.
I am Phyllis Zempler Miller.
Since October 7 and the war in Gaza, Jews throughout the world who work in the cultural sector are often facing boycotts. Our guest today will tell us about her personal experiences with that. Linda Margolin Royal's debut novel, The Star on the Grave, is a remarkable story about the Holocaust that was first published in January 2024. She lives in Sydney, Australia. Linda, welcome to our Never Again Is Now podcast, and thank you for coming on our show.
Good morning, good afternoon. I should say it's morning in Sydney. And I'm very honoured to be part of your program. Thank you very much for having me on.
Wonderful.
Can you share with us what this book story is about?
My story
Yes.
is inspired by the true story of my family's escape and rescue from the Holocaust in 1940, thanks to an illegally issued transit visa from a Japanese diplomat who's known as the Japanese Schindler. His name is Sugihara. And it's set in 1968 when he was found in Moscow by one of the people he saved. And it's a journey back to closure and understanding by a young 21-year-old girl trying to find out the truth about her family's history. That's it in a nutshell, I guess.
That's fascinating. And a Japanese Schindler. Who would think of a Japanese Schindler? But so that's very interesting. Yes. Um, how have publishers reacted to your novel?
Oh boy. Pre-October 7, very favorably. My publisher was extremely excited, extremely welcoming. In fact, they saw me as the next tattooist of Auschwitz. I assume your viewers are or listeners are familiar with the tattooist of Auschwitz. It's been an international success. They thought, wow, this is a story the world needs to know. It's another Schindler, but on steroids. And they gladly accepted me. Now, my book went to, and bearing in mind that the themes in my novel, and I'm not a prophet, so it was chilling that then what happened on October 7 happened, because one of the main themes in my book is the capacity. I wrote that there exists the capacity in every non-Jew for this bubbling, festering, latent anti-Semitism, given the right circumstances, to rise to the top and flow over. And that's expressed by the father to the main protagonist in the book about his experiences during the Holocaust and his paranoia and his trauma, his childhood trauma resurfacing. When I wrote it, I thought, oh gosh, I'm being a little bit paranoid here. I mean, gosh, it's 80 years later. Maybe I'm overdoing it. And then October 7 happened. And my book went to print the week of October 7.
Hmm.
And I called my publisher and went, what do you want to do? And they all got on a Zoom with me, the CEO, the publicist, everyone. And one by one said, look, Linda, and this is before we went into Gaza, remember? They said, so sorry, I'm so sorry. We just want to express each of us, what's happened to your people. And we were just so, so sorry, heartfelt. Sorry, apologies. And I thought, okay, give it a week or two. So I said, do you still want to go ahead with this? And they went, look, your book's not going into bookstores and being published until the 30th of January. And that's a few months away. Things will settle down. And I thought, wow, you're really not Jewish, are you? Um, and then the whole thing changed. The whole thing changed.
What,
So
what
if
do
you
you mean
want,
by the
What
whole thing?
changed? What
so
changed?
I'll elaborate. So about a week before the book was released, what they do is a cover reveal. And so they put the cover of my book on their Facebook social media page.
Mhm.
And it has a huge Star of David on it. And so it was quite obvious that it was a Jewish theme. And they announced me, and
Is this the
within
cover?
that's the cover, the star on the grave with a little star, not a little star, quite a prominent one. And they were not scared to put that star on before October 7. Anyway, they announced it. This was about 23rd of January, and it got bombarded by vitriolic trolling. It was a Sunday. There were comments like, this story is as true as the 40 beheaded babies and the raped women with vomit faces. You are a disgusting woman. I will never read anything that you write. Um,
But they
you're
hadn't read the book.
No, it wasn't out yet.
Okay,
It
I just
wasn't.
wanted to make that point.
Yeah, yeah. As long as you are committing murder and murdering babies in Gaza, we will never support you. Oh, great. You're committing genocide in Gaza and now you're putting out a Holocaust book. Well done. It didn't stop. It was hundreds and hundreds. And it was a Sunday, and I couldn't do anything because it's their IT. It was their social media page. So I was blocking them. I was going on and blocking them to make sure they weren't going on and looking at my personal information. But first thing Monday morning, I had to call them and say, look, this is what's happened. And it got more hits than any book they have ever announced. Normally they get 50 hits, 60 hits. They're a small publishing company. Although they've now been bought out by Simon and Schuster, which were two Jewish New Yorkers, so they would be turning in their graves. And then I said to them, you've got to shut this down because it's just become a debate on Gaza. And my book has nothing to do with Gaza. It's a Holocaust. It's not even a Holocaust story. It's inspired by a Holocaust story. So that was the start. And then it just got worse. So they said goodbye to me, good luck with your social media after 3 or 4 weeks, which is normal in the publishing industry. They didn't do anything wrong. But every time I had a huge win, which in the eyes of any publisher would have been something to really shout about, they remained quiet. They didn't share it on their social media and they just quietly distanced themselves from me.
Mhm.
So that was the beginning. Then I discovered all the generic writers' festivals in Australia were being dominated and frequented by Palestinian authors and Gaza stories. They were being put forward for events and for sessions. Um, and I thought, well, I can't go anywhere near those because no, I'd either, at very least, I'd be booed off stage, and at worst, my life would be threatened.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah. So
Unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable. For publishing a story about that is inspired by a Holocaust story. It wasn't
by a
even
righteous
about Israel
Gentile.
or Zionism, I think, right?
No, 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 no.
No.
The actions
What?
of a righteous Gentile, not a Jewish person, saving desperate refugees, escaping the Holocaust in 1940. But that's the backstory. The story is the story of a young girl who's 21, who has her heritage concealed from her due to fear of persecution in a new homeland, and then discovers she's been saved by this Japanese gentleman. And she's lost her mother at age 9. That's not a spoiler alert because you find out very early on as soon as you start reading it. And she's got a fiercely close connection with her grandmother. And the two of them go back to Japan to thank the man to whom they owe their lives.
So
And it
so the
takes place
re
in Japan.
yes,
So,
so the reactions are not even anti-Zionist, which would be anti-Semitic
yeah,
also, but it's like really triggered just by a story about Jews.
that's it.
So, and how was your novel received by critics and the
By
public?
critics, very favorably by critics. This is the other thing. I mean, I was a bestseller within 3 months in Australia, and I was the top-selling historical fiction title for the first 2 months. But when we asked the publisher, I've got a producer in LA because we're trying to get the story up as a movie or a TV series.
Mhm.
I've already written the prequel and I've got an idea for a sequel, so it would make a great TV series. Any streamers out there? Hi. Um, and so we were trying to get this up, and my producer in LA said to the publisher, could you please give us a press release to that effect that, it's a bestseller and it's the top historical fiction title at the moment? And he said, no, I can't really do that. That's not newsworthy.
Huh.
Wow.
Wow. So
Wow.
there is a lot of avoidance of,
Yeah, avoidance. So it's
yes,
not, you can't say it's anti-Semitism. It's just they're quietly distancing themselves.
yeah,
Yeah. Then I got the Tattooist of Auschwitz's author, Heather Morris, who's a lovely lady and very supportive of me. She also endorsed my book. She read it, and then in the Daily Mail UK, they asked her, "What are you reading right now?" And there was a whole article, and she said, "I'm reading The Star on the Grave by Linda Margolin Royal," which is gold for a publisher,
yeah.
especially when they touted me as the next tattooist. So I very, very excitedly sent that to them. Nothing. Didn't share it.
Wow.
Nothing.
Terrible.
Again, it's not anti-Semitism. You can't call it anti-Semitism. And they were very good and respectful publishers. But money is money. They know where the money is. The money is with Palestinian authors and Arab authors, and that's not taking away from their stories because there's some very valid stories and there's some very wonderful Muslim stories, but it's so heavily in favor of them at the moment that it's
But
really
money would also be with the endorsement of your book and giving publicity to that.
no,
Uh,
out of fashion, completely out of fashion, nothing Jewish.
Wait,
but I think they're afraid of the reactions to them
Yes,
that their name will be discredited by
associated
experts.
with a Jewish author, and then they
Yeah,
would cop backlash. Yes, it's the pushback by everybody to not favor Jews because it's a scary world, and it's also because they know that Jews are very non-violent. We're peace-loving, and that's been demonstrated in the rallies here, where we've been discouraged by the police forces to go to rallies where there are Palestinians because they know it's going to incite violence on the other side. And
yeah,
so if they support a Jewish author, they're going to incite violence from the other
yeah,
side.
yeah.
I have a basic question as an American. What's the population in terms of I knew that Jews went to Australia right after World War II. I mean, Holocaust survivors. That was one of the
Yeah.
places that actually took them. So I find this bizarre that are there that many Palestinians in Australia these days?
The Muslim population is about 850,000. The Jewish population is 110,000.
Out of a
Um,
population of how many?
25, 26 million. Tiny percentage. And we, as usual, the Jews figure very small in these statistics. We're tiny, but because we're successful, we're a scapegoat and there's jealousy. And of course, my government permitted 2,000 Gazan refugees unvetted in,
Mm, mm,
What?
unvetted. Yeah, yeah.
So,
So we won't go into that, but that's that's the reality. And
mhm.
there is a large Muslim population, lovely Muslim population. There's some beautiful people. We all know that, and we know there's a few bad eggs and a few extremists in every religion. Um, but they're a small, very vocal crowd, and and that's what's happening. It's not like London where it's completely overrun,
Okay,
but they're small and vocal, and they're causing havoc, as you know, with the burning of the synagogues, and it's unprecedented what's going on. I've lived here for 62 years. I've never seen anything like it.
no.
No.
what is the government's position, the Australian government's position on anti-Semitism?
The Australian government's position is that they know that it's abhorrent and it should be prevented and stopped in its tracks. The problem is that they are it's kind of put your money where your mouth is. Words, empty, empty words. They didn't take any action. So, and I'm sure you know because it went worldwide, on the steps of the Sydney Opera House on October 9, the Palestinians stormed the Opera House and started chanting, "Gas the Jews, death to the Jews." and they did nothing. And then they put out a statement saying that those words had been misheard. What they were actually saying was, "Where are the Jews?" which is preposterous. I mean, it's a joke. We all started saying, so did they mean, "Where are the Jews? We want to kill them"? Where are the Jews? We're hunting them down. It was just crazy. So from then on, they demonstrated a lack of strength. And they let things happen, they let things happen until finally we had to put a special envoy in place, Gillian Siegel. And there is now a whole 15-point plan to stop anti-Semitism via education, um, going into the universities and colleges, going into the schools, and starting by educating the masses, so we don't see what happened in the USA, because Australia very much follows the USA, and so this is what happened. All the young woke children started seeing what was going on with those encampments. So we had to try and stop it in its tracks. I've just got sun. The sun is rising in Sydney and it's running in my eyes. If you can give me one moment, I'm just going to close my curtains. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
I didn't expect this, but 1 second.
Yeah.
Well,
So I still don't understand, Evelyn, whether the government's now going to arrest people or allow that, have a 15-point plan that has it's wordy, but are they going to actually act?
are they going to act?
Yes.
Well, this is something that we're all waiting to see. Of course, now again, Gillian Siegel is married to a very prominent member of the community, funnily enough, who's also the son of a Sugihara survivor, who also is alive because of the same righteous Gentile as me. Very philanthropic, lovely gentleman, but now, of course, people have targeted him um, because I guess they've looked up his net wealth, and Jews equal money, and therefore the money's being put in the wrong place. So they're accusing him of supporting propaganda, and he's a racist, and
Her husband is smeared.
her husband is smeared just
Yeah.
by association with her. And what is she trying to do? She's trying to stop anti-Semitism. One woman commented on a post and said, "We need to get rid of her." And so I messaged back, "I'm sorry, by what means would you like to get rid of her? Would you like to, how would you like to exterminate her? Gassing?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
incineration?" Well, that shut her up. But it was such a horrible thing to say. I mean, why would you want to get rid of someone who's trying to stop hate? And she's trying to stop it across the board. She's saying that we need to educate on every single faith, every single religion, not just Judaism. There just needs to be no racism in Australia because it's not who we are.
Right.
Although there was a time when the Australians did put the original settlers behind fences. I've never forgotten that movie, right? Rabbit-proof fence.
Rabbit-proof fence. Well, this is the thing. I mean, we were colonizers. So for the Australians to say that the Israelis, who are not colonizers, we're just going back to the land that is rightfully ours, and that we are occupiers of an area in Gaza that we haven't been in for 20 something years. They need educating, and that's the bottom line. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Genocide's being bandied around. Um, Ethnic cleansing, apartheid, these definitions need to be made quite clear. Nobody's denying that there's death in Gaza. It's just how that death is occurring is not by means of genocide.
Is this anti-Jewish climate, is it coming from mainly the Palestinian population in Australia, or maybe mainly the Muslim population in Australia, or is it coming from the broader society in Australia.
Broader society, mainstream, I would say. And the funny thing is, a lot of us in the Jewish community here are saying, we understand if the Muslim population is incensed by what's going on. They have skin in the game. They're entitled to be incensed just as we are incensed. It's the mainstream, broader community that is the scary part.
Mhm.
It's you go to rallies and demonstrations and you hear them from the river to the sea and death, death, death to the IDF. They're white Caucasians. A lot of them are in their early to late 20s. There are some, families there with their children, and you think, what are you doing? Like, and why do you care? There are so many genocides happening. What did everyone say when 1,000 Druze were just murdered? Where was Amal
Right.
Clooney?
Right.
Um, it's ridiculous. It's clear anti-Semitism.
Mhm.
There's nothing else. It's if the Jews are not involved, they don't care. There's
Yeah.
just world silence. And it's the same in Australia.
Yeah.
Mm.
What happened to your book recently? Can you tell us the story you shared in a video clip that went viral?
Yeah. So I did a post on LinkedIn about a month ago, and a lovely Jewish American lady saw the post, and it was talking about the pushback. I was going into bookstores and seeing that there were no Jewish books on display, but there was books on Gaza and Palestine everywhere. I went up and asked where my book was. They'd been out of stock for months and hadn't bothered to reorder it. And
I would
a
have
lot of
said chosen, a better
I'm
word.
sorry,
I would have said chosen is a better word.
chosen. Um, 18 months from publication, you do fall flat, and there's a lot of laziness, and the publishers won't bother checking with the bookstores either. But there are a lot of young, woke folk in these bookstores working who are probably doing the reordering and who are favoring books on Gaza and Palestine. In my local area, which is a very Jewish area, the bookstore there had a copy of Mein Kampf. Ridiculous.
It's
Just
which is not illegal, I take in Australia.
I'm not sure actually.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I did this post and this lady reached out to me via messaging and said, "You're doing it all wrong. If you want to bypass the bookstores, you need to do what we do or what we would be doing in America, which is going to Amazon, get a launch day organized, video yourself for a couple of minutes, tell everybody what's going on in Australia in the publishing world for Jews, and get everybody on one day to just go on and buy your book. And you'll go to number one." And I thought, well, I don't know, Australia's a pretty small place. So I did a very rudimentary video. I explained what was going on. But the one thing that resonated with everybody, because this video happened to go viral and it went to the US, London, South Africa, Canada, Israel, it went everywhere. And I did go to number one on Amazon USA in Jewish
Wonderful.
literature. And I sold out in Australia.
Well
And I
done.
forced my publisher into a reprint that they had been pushing back on for many, many months. So
Fantastic.
fantastic. But the story was a woman approached me on Facebook and said, "Could I please call you? I've been following you for many months and I think you need to know what's going on in the industry." And so this is the story. She called me and she said, "I need to remain anonymous because I need my job. I work in a bookstore.
And
Your
not
book,
Jewish, by the way, right?
not Jewish, not
Important
Jewish."
point.
Very important point. It's the main point. She said, so I asked them, "Can we restock with your book?" They said no. I thought that was very strange. So I went to the bookshelves and had a look for Jewish titles. They didn't represent The Tattooist of Auschwitz. They didn't represent Schindler's Ark, um, Eddie Jaku's book, The Happiest Man on Earth, which is also an international bestseller written by a Holocaust survivor. She said there was just no Jewish representation, but a lot of Gazan books. I then said to them, "Could we get this author in for an author talk, an author event, and a book signing? She's a bestseller." They said no. Then she said, "I feel so sorry for what's going on with you and with the hostages. I decided to buy a Star of David and wear this Star of David."
Wow.
And they saw it and they cut her work hours in half.
Ah, that's unbelievable. That's
So I
unbelievable.
just, yeah. So I went on and said to everybody, this is the reality. If this is happening in one small bookstore, it's probably happening in many, many more. So please go on and support all authors, all Jewish authors at this time.
Yes.
Now
Um,
tell us,
and,
And buy on Amazon.
yeah,
and buy on Amazon. And they did. And I got reach outs from everybody, including you guys.
yeah,
Um, this is my third podcast.
Good.
um, it's been amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping I'll get that US publishing deal as well. I've got one publisher looking at my book and my prequel at the moment, but as well in publishing internationally, I have not been able to score a deal. The USA, it's been a cookie cutter response every single time my agent has put it out there. It's a wonderful story that the world needs to know, but not at this time.
Right.
Not at this time. And one publisher even suggested I get my publisher here to reprint my cover without the Star of David on it.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said,
Yeah.
no, I won't do that.
No.
No,
Oh,
I'm not going to water down who I am.
I admire that you take that position, that you don't give in to those
No.
conditions of publishers for the sake of selling your book again through them. But you,
Look, for me, it's not about I'm yet to see any royalties yet because the publisher gets 90% and I get 10%. That's publishing.
Mhm,
But I'm donating all my profits to rehabilitation of soldiers and PTSD.
mhm.
That's my cause. I don't want to profit off a Holocaust story. I think that would be dirty money. I just don't. No, I'm very passionate about Holocaust education and for the world to know. This is a story that the world needs to know at the moment, that non-Jews need to know. I've just done a TEDx talk, which is about to go up in the next week or two,
Very good.
on standing up and standing out, the power of one to affect change, and the
Mhm.
fact that it only takes one person to change the world. This man saved 6,000 Jews. There are now between 200,000 and 500,000 descendants of that one righteous act.
That's
By the
Um,
way, let's
fantastic.
tell people that he suffered for this righteous act.
Oh, he really suffered. Yes, he died a pauper. He was stripped of his diplomatic title when he returned back from, well, he was in a prisoner of war camp in Bucharest in Romania for 18 months with his young family. 1947, went back to Japan, was stripped of his title, was never told why, but it was understood. Couldn't find meaningful work because he was fluent in Russian. He managed to get a very good job in Moscow and lived away from his young family for 20 years. He saw them once a week for
Hmm.
20 years.
Wow.
Um,
And I
yeah,
would like to just tell people also, where did he issue these passports? I mean, I know, but
he issued them in Kaunas in Lithuania. So
yes.
my family had escaped, fled across the border, don't even know how they got out in 1939, December 1939, after the Nazis had invaded. They got out of Warsaw.
Wait, invaded Poland. Yes.
Invaded
Right.
Poland. They got out of Warsaw. They fled across the border to Lithuania, where I think I had a great grandmother in Vilnius. And word got around the community. If people read the book, they'll find out the story because I have the true story of Chiune Sugihara weaved through in a parallel narrative, so they can make reference all the time to the true story. But the word got out that this gentleman was illegally issuing transit visas to Japan. So they stormed the consulate. He was the consul in Kaunas, the Japanese consul, under the guise of being a consul. He was actually spying for the Japanese to monitor Russian, German troop movements. And then they took the Trans-Siberian Railway across to Vladivostok, 2 weeks, and then the boat across to Japan. And they were in Japan for 10 months. And the Joint Distribution Committee in New York intervened, got them all some funds, and tried to find them relatives and friends all over the world. And so there are Sugihara survivors and descendants all over the world, except for 900 that went across to the Shanghai ghetto just before Pearl Harbor, because they knew
Mhm.
that they were going to bomb Pearl Harbor. So they got all the refugees.
Hmm. Wow. An amazing
Please
story.
excuse, my
Yes.
dog is barking in the background. If it's an issue, I can open the door and let him in, but he's a
No,
little bit.
that's okay. Phyllis.
Yeah, that's really the story. So yes, he died. At least when he was discovered by this gentleman in 1968, he thought that he had only maybe rescued one or two Jews. He had no idea that he'd
Oh,
rescued so
Really?
many survived. Yeah. So he was completely overwhelmed. And then he was honored by Yad Vashem as righteous among the nations.
mhm.
Yeah.
And he did this in direct contradiction of what his government told him to do. Isn't that correct?
Yes, three times he asked them permission to issue visas to these refugees, and three times the answer came back, under no circumstances are you to issue visas. And so he went against, he said to his wife, if I deny these people visas, I'm going against God. So he just took it upon himself. Very, very brave deed. He risked the life of his whole family doing that and his position. He suffered greatly, yeah.
And are there organizations that honor him now regularly or
Yeah. Well, his son, Nabuki, with whom I'm very closely connected, who lives in Belgium, and informed greatly on my information on the book to make sure it was accurate about his father, was on the speaking circuit and doing a lot of talks about him. And yeah, there's often the Japanese government have now decided he's a good egg, and so they regularly promote him. They've got a like a Disneyland tour of where he grew up and where he's buried and whatever. And yeah, so he's in the school curriculum there. And yes, I think he's talked about quite a bit now.
okay. Evelyn, those are the only questions that I have. Do you have more?
No, no.
Okay. I
So
can just finish by obviously thanking you guys again to tell everybody The Star on the Grave is available on Amazon USA. It's available in paperback, audiobook, and Kindle. I donate all my profits, as I've said. If you buy one book, you're helping a Jewish author with a big Magen David on the cover. Be very, very prominent on Amazon. I did get to number one. It slipped back slightly, but I'm still in the top 100 after over a month now, which is incredible in the USA. And I'm still in the top 10 in Australia. So, yeah, keep up the good work. And I've just been shortlisted in the Australian Jewish Writer Awards. I just found out last night, so that's very exciting as well.
wow,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
wow. And there's even I don't know why, but Amazon sent me a large print.
I know, and someone else said the same thing. Now I think that's because they've run out of stock because they didn't have much stock left. But I forced them into a reprint, and the small format book, the B format, which is that very small book that they normally do after a big one, is coming out in the next 6 weeks. I've got a book launch organized in Israel, in Jerusalem, on the 29th of September with Yad Vashem and the Japanese embassy, if they get their act together and get these books printed in time. Otherwise, I'll have no books to sell. Uh,
Hmm.
so it should be out fairly soon in the next couple of months in the smaller format as well on Amazon. And if I get an American publisher, it's going to be in all the bookstores pretty quickly in the US. But at the moment, yes, it is available on Amazon. And yeah, what else can I say? It's a book the world needs to hear, and hopefully we'll make Sugihara a household name like Schindler with a movie or a TV series very soon.
Absolutely. And deservedly so. Because
Oh, deserve.
he didn't even do it for personal gain, which is how Schindler in the beginning thought,
That's
oh, this
right.
is a good deal. I can make money based on this.
Yeah, no
Sugihara did it.
agenda, no financial agenda, no political agenda, simply because it was the right thing to do.
So
Yeah.
we encourage everyone on the show to do the right, who listens to the show, to do the right thing. And in terms of speaking up against anti-Semitism and all hate. So I thank you very much. We thank you very much, Linda, for coming on. We thank our listeners. For those of you who want to know more about myself and Evelyn's work, we do other anti-Semitic projects. I mean, projects about anti-Semitism besides our podcast, tune in, go look at Never Again Is Now podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as we say for every one of these episodes, please speak up against anti-Semitism and all hate.